Jets fans, we have a lot going on in our world, and we're going to break down the latest on what's happening with our quarterback, Geno Smith, his ongoing legal situation, and also this opportunity may present itself for Cade Klubnik to be the QB1 of this Jets football team. We're getting into that on the back half of today's show. You're watching the Jets Report. I'm Mike Jaraputo. We are presented by Prize Picks, and if you don't know what's going on with Geno Smith, well, here it is. We got a full timeline for you right here. So on Sunday, we had a woman who posted a video on her Instagram accusing Geno of domestic violence and child neglect. We also had on Monday, it was reported, hey, this isn't an active case. There have been no arrests made. And then they reviewed it just a little bit. Then the Davis Police Department in Florida, they decide to investigate further. Just today, what a coincidence. New York Post released a body cam footage of a traffic stop where Geno was pulled over. Not sure the exact brand of what car it was, but he said the plates were for a Lambo, and it just didn't really look like not the best possible interaction you could have. Not too big of a deal with Geno just today, but of course, New York Post waits about 3 months, despite having that video to post it today. So with all this Geno stuff that's going on, all I want to do for you guys in these types of videos is just simply lay out what's happening with Geno Smith. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. I'm not a legal expert. I don't think I really need to tell you that. I don't think a lot of people watching these videos are legal experts, but I'm not going to jump to any conclusions with Geno Smith yet, but it's just not the best thing in the world that we have to deal with this in the month of June for the Jets. So you guys let me know. I mean, I feel like I've seen a lot of varying, comments under my videos, just comments about this whole situation from a lot of people. I'm not really on one side just yet. I mean, I don't like that Geno is in this situation to begin with, but I'm not going to say he's guilty. I'm not going to say he's not guilty. He'll be guilty until innocent until he is proven guilty. But you guys let me know, how worried are you about this Geno Smith situation, his ongoing legal situation? Scale it 1 to 10 in the comments, and also let me know why. You guys know I'm always down there responding to you guys. I think Frankie Vitz had a pretty good tweet. He's another Jets guy on Twitter. He said, everything with Geno can be chalked up to, quote, no big deal. And honestly, not much of it is and honestly, most of it isn't a big deal. But when you have a bunch of no big deals during your career, it just shows a lack of judgment and maturity, which really, put it there pretty nicely in the end. You don't want that from your quarterback, especially your franchise quarterback. I'm not saying Geno is our franchise quarterback, but he's supposed to be the QB1 of this team, and by default, the leader of this football team. And I feel like what really frustrates me with this whole situation, Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn have done such a good job throughout their tenure. Look, all they have to show for their whole tenure so far is the 3-14 season. Muji's made some great moves, in my opinion, but they still have to prove. We still have to, see those play out. But up until this point, I'm not saying this is their fault, but they've done such a good job in avoiding these off-the-field distractions that we don't need as a football team, and especially from the quarterback position. If this were to happen to a receiver or running back, it's a little bit different. Obviously, it's not good, but it's a little bit different when it doesn't come from your quarterback. But Muji and Glenn, despite their best efforts, really going to have to deal with this story. Luckily, really a dead period now in the NFL. We finished minicamp, and we're on to training camp in late July. But one thing that I'll always make a point of, every team in the NFL, every good team in the NFL, you can point to a few things that they do well, like Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens, all these like well-run teams. I'll even throw the Pittsburgh Steelers in there, even though despite recent years, not a lot of playoff success. All these good NFL teams have a culture, and if I were to ask you right now, what do you think of when you think of the Jets? I'm sure it's not positive, right? Like, it's supposed to be becoming that under Muji, under Aaron Glenn, but as of right this very moment, we have really nothing to hang our hats on as Jets fans, and neither do the Jets as an organization. And Geno, he's got a responsibility as a quarterback. As I said, this is a little bit different. It's unacceptable regardless if you're a wide receiver, if you're a running back, but you are the quarterback of this football team. You have a responsibility to stay out of trouble off the field. And again, I'm not saying he's guilty of anything just yet. I'm not saying that. I want to be very clear in saying that, but you have a responsibility to stay the hell out of trouble, out of any kind of things that can get you into trouble as a quarterback. And Geno hasn't really done a great job of that, especially since he's got to the Jets. All right, up next, we got Cade Klubnik. Amid this news, he might be inching a little bit closer to the QB2 job, to the QB1 job, perhaps. We will see how that all plays out. All right, I'm going to let you guys know about that whole situation. Before I do all of that, I got to thank today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Today's show was made possible by Prize Picks. The World Cup is here. Baseball is underway, and it's time to cash in with Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app. It's the best place to win cash while you're watching your sports. The app is really easy to use. You just pick more or less on a few player stats, and then you lock in your lineup. For example, I got a season-long one going right now. You guys might have seen it. I got the more on Brees. I think this guy's just going to be the bell cow for the Jets in 2026. We got the less on Tony Pollard. They had Singleton in the draft. They still have Tajay Spears. I think it might be a struggle for Pollard to get more than 850. Mark Andrews the more on 5.5 receiving touchdowns. Still the red zone guy in Baltimore. I think their offense is going to be a lot better. Give me more on 5.5. That's a $50 entry. It's going to pay you $300. They got a new feature, social feeds feature. You could share Prize Picks with your buddies, copy lineups with just a single click. That includes myself. You can follow me on the app. I'm at Mike Jaraputo. You can tail my picks. You could fade them. You can get the picks before they're even posted here on the show. They got a new user offer for you guys. You can download the Prize Picks app today with the link in the comments and the description and use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Okay, so now, if Geno Smith were to be absent from the Jets to either begin the season or the entire season, depending on how bad this gets, again, want to be very, very clear, not jumping to any conclusions. Geno is not guilty of anything at this very moment, but we are preparing for that possibility, that is for sure, now that the case is reopened. So, who would step up if Geno Smith were to miss time for the Jets in 2026? Well, we have about 5 options here for the Jets. We have 3 quarterbacks. We have Klubnik, Zappi, and Brady Cook. And we have 2 options that, as of right now, are not on the roster. But could the Jets look to free agency? Could they look to the trade market? I'm not going to rule out another move at the quarterback position. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into this, probably in another video later this week. But we brought Russ in for a visit. We offered Russ a contract to be the quarterback 2 of this team. He decides to go to CBS, the NFL Today on CBS. But now, let's say there's a situation where Russ could be the QB1 of this Jets football team week 1 of the season. That's a different conversation for the Jets, and that's a different conversation for Russell Wilson and what he wants to do basically just with his life. I mean, he took the NFL Today job on CBS because it was either that or be the backup of the Jets. But if you go to Russ and you say, hey, Russ, Geno suspended 6 games, or Geno, something worse happened with Geno, you could be the quarterback 1 of this team because we don't want to throw Klubnik out there. We don't want to throw Zappi or Cook out there. Russ could have an opportunity right there. We could go through free agency. We could also go through the trade market. Maybe a guy like Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. Again, getting ahead of ourselves here, but just preparing for that reality. And also, Aaron Glenn said the other week that this backup quarterback competition between Zappi, between Klubnik, and between Brady Cook is still wide open. Those guys are going to have to compete, is what he said. And I read that, and we've done a bunch on Klubnik on the show, and my take has stayed pretty consistent. The Jets are praying to God that Klubnik does enough this summer to win this job with no doubts, because the Jets invested, I don't want to say they invested a lot into Cade Klubnik, but they did trade up in the NFL draft, and I think they're simply put, they're praying that he wins this job. They have a lot of confidence in him as a staff. And we talked about this quote probably about 3 weeks ago at this point. This was Rich Cimini, a little article on the Jets and their infatuation with Clemson quarterback, former Clemson quarterback, Cade Klubnik. And he said, I think Frank Reich and Bill Musgrave, by the way, the quarterback's coach, were smitten with him. I know they put a lot of time into it, and Musgrave's a guy who doesn't get mentioned that much because Frank Reich is kind of the guy on offense, but I watch Musgrave in these rookie practices. He's a very vocal guy, and it just seems like he's putting in a lot, and he's challenging Cade Klubnik. It looked like he might have been changing plays or, putting him in positions to do that, making him think on his feet, and Musgrave played the position for a very long time. He's coached forever. They have 2 guys with Reich and Musgrave. It seems like they have 100 years of quarterback coaching experience. And as I just said, Klubnik was our guy entering the NFL draft. You don't trade up for a guy in the 4th round. You gave up, I think it was 140 and 160 something. Like they moved up a pretty decent amount to get Cade Klubnik. I think it moved up 18 spots to get Klubnik in the 4th round. So it's not like he just fell to him in the 4th round and they said, all right, I guess we'll take a chance on a quarterback. No, they were looking for this guy. When Cade Klubnik got that draft call, he kind of said, yeah, I kind of knew. He said, hey, I woke up, I had a feeling I was going to be a New York Jet today. So he was clearly our guy when we entered the NFL draft. And Also, another thing here in terms of why I think Klubnik is going to win this QB2 job, and I almost have no doubts about it, it's as simple as he's much better than Bailey Zappi and Brady Cook. We watched Brady Cook last season. We didn't really get to watch Bailey Zappi last season, but we saw him with New England probably about 4 years back at this point, and it really wasn't pretty. I think Klubnik is simply a lot better of a quarterback than these guys. As you could see here, Brady Cook had a joke of a season in 2025. And you could say in the comments, well, Mike, who was going to succeed in that situation? Like, it was the Jets. The weapons weren't there. Garrett was hurt. It was all over the place. People were going to be fired after the season. Well, okay, fine. But 739 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 picks, and an 11 QBR, and you're not even completing 58% of your passes? And you're an undrafted free agent out of college, out of Missouri, so I don't really see a lot going forward that's strong for Brady Cook. I don't think he'll be a part of this roster in about 2 months. And also Bailey Zappi, 2022 you can point to. Like, I know there was a stretch of about a week or two where it's like, hey, Bailey Zappi might be the guy over Mac Jones. Bailey Zappi might be the future for the New England Patriots, and that just was never going to be the case. 2023 comes back, 10 games. Not great. 6 touchdowns, 9 picks, 24 barely played, 25 didn't get off the practice squad for the Jets. But for Klubnik with these 4th-round quarterbacks, the history is pretty crappy, right? I mean, the last successful one is, can you even call anybody on that list a successful quarterback? I consider it a success that Stidham is still in the NFL. None of those guys on the right side you're seeing there are in the NFL. Book is out. Zappi's still in. O'Connell's still in. Bennett is still in. I'm not even sure Haener is still on the Saints. So the history is going against Cade Klubnik. But I say right now that if Geno were to miss time, that if Klubnik were to win this QB2 job, there is a legit chance Klubnik plays this season. There's a legit chance that Klubnik's the QB1 for the Jets in 2027 if we want to take some time to develop that guy behind somebody, if you want Klubnik in there. So I think Klubnik has a legit chance to be the guy, to be that 4th-round guy that breaks this seemingly never-ending trend with these quarterbacks in the 4th. I think Klubnik has the chance to do that because I saw him his second to last year at Clemson. He went over 40 touchdowns. He looked really, really good that season. And I also don't think, the numbers from last year, I think off the top of my head, it was 16 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, or maybe 7 turnovers. He was a lot better than that. I've watched the tape of all 3 years at Cade Klubnik at Clemson. I didn't even see too much of I didn't see a stark difference between what he was in 25 versus what he was in his best season in 24. So I think Klubnik has a really, really good chance to be the guy for the Jets that breaks this trend, especially if he gets a chance to be the QB1 of this team to open up the season. But you guys let me know what you would think. Let's say, again, very, very clear here. Not saying that Geno is guilty of anything. We're just kind of, riding this out as we go. But there is a legit chance with this case being reopened that Geno might not start the season for the New York Jets. So how would you guys feel if it was Cade Klubnik, the 4th-rounder out of Clemson, that was the Week 1 starter against the Tennessee Titans for the New York Jets? You guys let me know what you would think of that situation down in the comments below. And while you're down there, do me a favor, hit subscribe, turn on those notifications, like the video if you enjoyed what you saw today. I want to thank you guys for watching. We'll have a lot more on this quarterback situation. Thank you guys as always, and JETS, 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 Jets.